we're not both. We're not, I think, seahorse. You know, they can, sometimes they're
a male,
and the seahorse, sometimes it's a female.
Hello.
Which one am I today? I don't know.
Oh man, we are
Seahorse.
skating. We are skating the line. What's up, beautiful people, to another episode of the Ricky Jones Jr. podcast with this segment known as the Conversation with Christians.
Do we ever agree is Conversation with Christians? Is that what we're going for?
That's what we're going for.
All right, we're going with that as the jingle.
Let us
boom,
know
boom, boom.
by hitting that thumbs up button if that is the jingle. One more time, hit the jingle.
Conversations with Christians.
Yeah. Boom. So of course you have yours truly, Ricky Jones Jr., and we also have
O'Neal Delva in the building.
Didn't even plan it. But at the end of the day, we are excited about the topic that we will be talking about today because it's something that we're living.
We are living it, yeah.
And the topic for today is living with a wife that can hear from God.
Hear from God, yes.
Wow. What a journey that it is, which is a blessing, right? Let me first start off by saying it's a blessing.
Yes.
It's a blessing to have a wife that can hear from God because you all can be in line with what the direction of your family can be.
Yes.
Right? Because as the men, as the husbands of the household, we have to hear from God, right?
Yep.
God is our source.
Yes.
So we hear from God and then we lead our family based off of what God says.
Yes.
Which I'm going to just like pocket that moment and say we just came off a men's conference.
We did.
Which was a phenomenal conference at World Changers, in which we should probably talk about that next week. Like dive into different aspects of it.
Because not everyone had an opportunity to attend the conference. And
correct.
A lot of powerful things for men, and you know, things to help to strengthen men, and and even elements that could potentially benefit female as well, just to hear, to better understand how to interact with maybe your husband or your brother, your father, whatever it might be. Just different things that you can take away to apply to your life, no matter the gender, really. So
boom. And so even too, we were even charged to like each one teach one, and so teach people based off of what we learn, what we experience, and takeaways that we have. So we're gonna take that initiative and do so next week. However, let's talk about living with a wife that can hear from God. I know your wife.
Yes.
You know my wife.
I know your wife.
Right?
Yes.
So how is it for you?
So
living with
my wife, a wife who can hear from God. There are awesome moments, like you said.
Yes.
But I mean, just us talking. We like to be ourselves and share our story. Hopefully, help encourage you as well. And as you in your walk, wherever you might be in your faith walk or in life in general, right? You can apply a lot of these as part of life. So
very true.
But no, it's awesome having a wife who can hear from God, because at times where I might fall short, she helps to fill in the gap, so to speak. And we'll break all that down. I'll break down exactly what I mean by that. And then the other thing too, I will say, there are times when, for me, it can be a little frustrating. Okay. But truth be told. Truth be told. But at the same time, though, that when I stop and I think about it some, and it's like, well, she's right. One of the things that my wife used to say a long time ago, they used to I will say, get under my skin a little bit, right? She used to say, it's not a kingdom issue. Or if I say that, is it a kingdom issue? Well, it's not a kingdom issue, but so that used to get to me for a little bit. And,
right.
But she's right. When I stop and I think about whatever the problem was that I would bring to the table, to the fold, or whatever, you start to break it down, and it's like, she is right. It's not a kingdom issue. So, but anyway, we'll get into all of that in a moment. But what about you, though?
So I would say,
tell the folks.
For me, like the first thing that comes to mind is it's an adventure.
Yes,
it's an adventure because, like, you don't know what to expect in a good way, right? It's an adventure as well because we also know and we trust in God, right? In our family and your family both trust God. And so obviously we're open to whatever God says.
Exactly.
However, if you didn't hear what God says and you're being told what God is saying, then it's like, okay, so what we gonna do with this information?
What we gonna do with this information?
Oftentimes in my household, we not only hear what God says, but we act.
That's it.
On what God says.
Hear and do. That's it.
Boom. not always is it like hear, consider, then do, right? It's usually hear and do, which has its ups and downs, its pros and cons. But at the end of the day, it's an adventure because one, again, I know the source, right? It's not like Crystal's going into a booth in the closet and just coming out with these crazy ideas. No, I trust that not only can she pray to God, but God also speaks to her and she will do what God says. So it's like, okay, if she hit the line, right? Which there's that like, that line, like, you know, that big joker in spades. You don't know because you don't play spades.
I don't play spades.
But there's the big joker in spades that you play that card, it beats all cards.
Really?
And the big joker of all is God said. What can you say to that?
What can you say to that?
You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's... Right.
What have you ever, like, gone against Jessica when she said God said XYZ 1, 2, 3?
I'm trying to think. Let me see if I've ever gone against... No,
you can't.
You can't. For the most part, I mean, you hear what she says. Correct. God says, all right. What do you do?
Right. I know I've been told God said 1, 2, 3 XYZ, and I'm like, okay, well, let me go pray about it. Right. So like that was like a way to say, you know, not necessarily do I see it your way or do I even. It's not that I don't agree with God. Right. Of course. It's just like I just can't comprehend what is being said. Yeah. So let me pray to get comfort. Right? That's all it is. It's not saying no. It's just I need comfort too.
I mean, at times that you need that additional clarity, right? Because the information that might come your way, you might receive it or as in, whoa, that's off the wall.
Right.
Where did that come from? That goes potentially just, you know, goes against where I've been, what I've been thinking or the direction that I've been going, right? But at the same time, like you said, I mean, it's good to know that, you know, they're able to hear and take the word and break it down and apply it to say, you know what, based on whatever it is that, you know, the vision is for our family, God is revealing a piece to them, a piece of a puzzle, right? If we look at a puzzle, sometimes, you know, 500 pieces to a puzzle, but not every piece is the same. So there's something that's, or maybe you've laid it all out, but there's that one little component that's missing. So it's good to know that, you know, our wives and they're able to hear and get that one final piece that was potentially missing in order to help, you know, excel or propel our family to wherever it is that, you know, we want to go. The good thing is to know, at least, I mean, with us and our family, that, you know, my wife, she's trying to find ways to she's here to help our family, not hurt our family. That's, you know, I'll say it like that, of course, right?
I like that.
So help, not hurt. So the things that, you know, God is revealing, of course, God wants to help and not hurt, right? To help, you know, give us the advantage and, you know, versus putting us in a position where we are hurting financially, hurting, you know, whatever, you know, everything else. So it's super exciting knowing that, okay, you know, if what new adventure potentially will we encounter and where will we go in as it pertains to our family, and, you know, and it's good to also for us, and it's good to know for them, you know, to not be stagnant, right? And not just want to stay in one place. Because if you stay in one place in your thinking and your action and whatever else, then, you know, God wants us to grow. God wants us to, you know, to do things that's going to help us to bless others potentially, right? Where it's a blessing to be a blessing. So at times we, men or people in general, we can be small-minded and where we're only seeing one thing, but then somebody else can come, your wife can come and add to that to make it be even bigger than you could have ever, you know, thought or imagined it to be, you know, with God's help, of course. But, you know, you see one thing, you have an idea, and, you know, we sometimes get agitated, I'll say, right? If someone comes at us with a different stance to whatever it is that you believe. So I'll use, you know, I like that. I'll use me as an example. So, you know, I'll go to Jessica and say, you know, hey, I have an idea of, you know, let's start a business or whatever. I want to start a business, you know, regarding whatever area. But then she might come to me later and like, well, God has revealed to me that maybe we should focus on this area or that area and whatever. I'm like, I don't know I didn't see that originally. That was the part of the plan. Let me see. What are you looking at? But then when you look at it, you start breaking it down like, oh, you know what? This is giving us a chance to apply what I had originally thought along with maybe what your background and what you are good at, to now, give us a chance to plug the pieces together and bring in other elements to make it grow to be even bigger than what, I'd originally had thought it could potentially have been. So,
right.
So,
No, I mean, I dig that, because that's even like a case for me as well, in a sense where it's like, hey, babe, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I believe we should do. And it's like, okay, well, I hand it over in conversation to her.
Yeah.
And then I get back a response, and I'm like, wait a minute, like, what is this? And part of it is like, well, I prayed, and this is what I believe we should do and how we should go about it. I'm like, man, like, cool. Yeah. It's almost like, truth be told, it's almost like, okay, cool. Then let's do it your way. Let's see if it works.
Wait,
because I don't see it that way.
Okay, so then if it doesn't work, what do you do?
Then I say, okay, there is another plan. Right? I don't see how I told you so, right? You can't do that with your wife, and especially with, we're also talking about a guy, right?
Yeah.
But then we're also, as a husband, but then as people in general, we're also not like, I hear from God bettering, right? We're not doing that comparison.
This is
because
true.
Because there are times where she hears things that it's like, okay.
That's true.
We're
all able to hear the same, yeah. I mean, my ears aren't more, tuned to God or bigger in a sense to be able to hear him louder than, my wife or, that is true.
But now I do think that sometimes we can hear through our desires. Right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm also filtering. Like, are you speaking through your desires?
Okay.
Are you speaking through clarity?
Ah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's also in line with, let me go pray.
Yeah.
Let me go here. So we can do. Right? Yeah. Now, tell me this. Just, as we talk about this, man, we're having this conversation. What is something that Jessica has dropped saying that God said that caught you by surprise?
It caught me by surprise.
If you're thinking I got one.
You go ahead first, and then I'm gonna go ahead and come up with one.
So I came home from work or whatever one day. Came home. Crystal was here. And she hit me with God told me that I need to quit my job. I was like, okay.
Wow, that's big. That's big. I don't know if I have one that big, but yeah, go ahead. Though.
It's not tit for tat.
Yeah.
It's true for truth.
True for truth. That's it.
She hit me when I was like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, because we're like, at the time she was making more than me.
Okay.
Right? So it was like, okay, we take that away.
Ooh. That is
okay.
Ooh, yeah. When you think about the numbers, you start breaking things down.
I'm a numbers
bills and so on.
I'm a numbers guy. Yeah. Obviously, all that stuff started flickering, right? But in the back of my mind, as those things were flickering, I was just reminded the saying is trump card, right? But I don't even know if you can say trump card anymore, right? Because of how people feel.
This
about Trump.
I think I think it's okay. I mean, the term was there before, but yeah.
Correct. In reference, all right. You even knew the reference.
Yeah, Trump card.
Playing spades.
Well, that's a spades reference. Trump card is a spades reference.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Yeah, it
supersedes spades.
Okay.
Yeah. So I can say trump card.
Go ahead. Yeah,
that's what you just said.
Yeah, it's allowed.
Okay. O'Neal said it.
O'Neal said it, but
that I can say.
The funny thing is, I know not to sidetrack, but there are a lot of terms that you can't say nowadays that we used to say or people say regularly that are now racist or very offensive.
Right. To a group of people.
To a group of people,
very true.
A lot of things, when you look at the list, you're like, oh, I don't know, I didn't see that. But I guess in other ones, you look at it like, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So hopefully we don't get canceled for Trump card.
Well,
because I'm going to use it. So the ultimate Trump card was God said that I'm supposed to quit my job. So I'm like, okay. If God said this, we also know God to be a provider. Therefore, if God said to quit, he will provide for us financially.
Yeah.
And that's what I wrote to say, cool, do what God said. Right? Put it on God. But it freed me. I will say this. Doing that and saying that, just even thinking back now as we are coming out of living through that, we're really in the midst of it still. However, knowing that I said, if God said do it, then do it, knowing that God will provide, I was at peace, right? Because as a husband, as a father, as a male, the thought is that we're supposed to be the provider.
Yeah.
However, with God now being a part, which he should have always, but this was like the first time it was like a aha God moment. And, it was cool. It was cool.
Yeah.
You know, we had to make some minor adjustments.
I mean, it's true. Yeah, because we at times can just focus on the now, right? Focus on the immediate, which is, well, wait a minute. All right. Like you were saying before, well, if you currently make more than me, so if you're gone, that money goes away completely. Yep. And now we're going to have to adjust and lean on God even more so.
Even more so.
Because now, remove, hey, it's not about me. Mm-hmm. Because if I'm the one doing, the effort and trying to, so on and so forth, then I'm going to give myself the reward of the recognition. But then at the same time, if we let it go and put it on him, I mean, it's 100%.
And he gets the glory.
He gets the glory. It's 100% him,
Oh, that's good.
I mean,
I dig that.
Yeah, no, for me, like, Jessica and I, we talk about everything. And we discuss or agree on. I mean, the only thing that she'll do, but then she doesn't pull God into this, is she'll buy random stuff, clothes and things that's been in the closet. Oh, this old thing? Oh, it's been here in the closet. You just never noticed it. When did you get it? It arrived this morning and it's in the closet. So if I see it later in the day, it's 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 been here, But anyway, but trick. We talk about everything. I must say too, with her, she is right 100% of the time. Or God is right 100% of the time.
Absolutely.
Speaking, to her, to bring whatever information to me, whether it be things pertaining to our finances or not worrying and so on. Like she'll want for us to either buy a car or another car or save money or give the girls, our daughters, money for a vehicle, and I'm looking at the numbers like, make it make sense, Jesus. 1 + 1 in this case ain't adding up. The math ain't mathing, as they say.
Hello. This 1 + 1 is equal to 1 right now.
Yeah, that's what it's equal right now. Negative, dude. A positive plus a positive is a negative?
How, Sway?
How? But no, she's always, she's been right. That's what I've been kind of, and I've learned, and I'll go ahead and say it's kind of controversial maybe, but I need to listen to my wife more. Listen to your wife more. I know.
That's good. That's good.
Listen to your wife more because they know what they're saying.
They do.
They know because the thing is, because Jessica will say, "Don't worry about it," or back to the "is it a kingdom issue" thing that kind of used to kind of get at me or whatever. But as time progresses or whatever, because the thing too, one of the things that I'll say, we at times, when we hear God said or when we hear something said to us, we live in what's called a microwave society where people, we want that instant gratification, that instant response, that instant result. Yeah. But not everything happens instantly, Some
things do.
Yeah, it takes time or whatever, I don't cook much, or at all, I should say.
Me neither.
But I was going to say like a pressure cooker or one of those things that's like slowly marinating.
Crock pot.
That's what it is, a crock pot. Yeah.
Yeah.
But slowly, for all my chefs or cooks out there,
my wife has all those devices, right? She has the pressure cooker.
Yeah,
pressure cookers cook things faster, right?
But the crock pot takes forever.
Pot is slow and slow.
That's slow.
That's the overnight.
That's what it is.
That's the tender meat.
So it's like, so in the end, though, ends up being tender, ends up being good, falls off the bone.
Yes.
It ends up being just right.
Yes.
So that's the thing. Sometimes we try to rush things. So if our spouse comes to us, whether it be the wife or, if a husband comes to you and says, hey, God said we need to, sell our house and we are going to have a bigger house or much more, whatever it is than we currently have now. Then you sell the house, right? Then you end up moving in a smaller apartment. You're looking like, what is big house at, know? Then 2 years goes by, 3 years goes by, and so on and so forth. And you're looking like, well, wait a minute. You told me that God said, but where is it? What's happening or whatever? It doesn't mean that it's not coming. It's not on the way. But it just, you have to continue to be patient and allow them to move in, due timing, due season, whatever. When it's yours, right? So that's the thing. Like, my wife will tell me, hey, I believe we should move in whatever direction and do this thing and, get whatever vehicle, or we need to get a SUV with a third row. Well, we only got 3 kids. What's going to be 1 row per person? What is this? Like, no, there's going to be increase.
I mean, we have 3 rows, but it's convenient.
Yeah,
it's spacious too. And I got a confession.
Yeah.
So to your point, right? And Crystal watches the podcast, right?
Yeah.
So this is deliberately.
This message
speak
for
it to
her. Ah.
To your point, saying that your wife is always right, and
Yes.
you should listen to your wife.
Should you be looking directly in the camera since you're talking to Crystal at this point?
I'm doing both, right? Because
okay.
I'm giving you credit while I'm about to give her credit.
Okay.
Okay, so you gave me the alley hoop for this moment. She said when I made the shift for the name of the podcast, right?
Okay.
She was like, hey, you should just like leave it what it is until you really figure out what the name should be.
Okay.
Because yes, you have a thought right now of the Ricky Jones Jr. podcast.
Yeah.
However, I know you're still hearing from God, so don't pinpoint anything right there. But I was like, no, like I need to make this shift. I need to make this change. I'm excited.
Impatient.
And so I am impatient. It's my turn.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna throw that out. I don't like that one.
Yeah.
That was too real. Okay, I'm talking to her. I gave you your props.
Okay.
And so I was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, like I just gotta do it, right? And so I changed it now. I was like, okay, Ricky Jones Jr. podcast. Boom, 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 boom. And then we got to talking, right? I lied to you not. When we did our interview, and this is just, you know what I'm saying, God talk. When we did our interview for fathers, God told me then, this is your co-host. And I was like, okay. Well, we just kept talking, right? Because I know all the stuff that you do. And then it later came back where I was like, hey, Odell, boom, 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 which is why we're here. So then we came up with the name Christian or Conversation with Christians.
You gotta sing it, bro. You gotta do the
That's your
jingle.
part.
Conversations with Christians.
Oh, yeah. And so it's like, boom, like, before I do a quick name change, like, I feel like that's it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's it.
That's it.
But I'm going to ask my wife, right? I'm going to ask this time.
Yeah.
Before I make the change.
Yeah.
However, just quick confession, because you're right. They are right. However, there are times where we can be, well, let's just talk about me. I can be bullheaded and impatient.
Yeah.
And not hearing what our wives are saying. So I'm saying that part to say, right, we've heard the conversations of we heard what they said and we did what we did.
Yeah.
But there's also times where we hear what they say and we don't do what they say. And then you later find out that, man, there was some God in what they said.
You know, yes.
And you look back like, oh, snap, like, I missed it. And it's cool because biblically our wives are our helpmates,
that
right?
is literally what I was thinking,
It's like, man, don't go against your helpmate, right? For whatever purpose, whatever reason, don't go against it. Like, it's for your good. It's for you all's benefit.
Yeah.
And so, you know, quick confession and truth matters. So, obviously, there'll probably be another name change. However, I'll consult my wife this time.
And that's the thing too. Like we at times, it's good to have a wife or someone in our lives to help us see things differently from a different viewpoint, right? I mean, we have them, like you said, they're our helpmates. So bring a problem to them, and where we can't think both ways potentially, right?
Because they see from different perspectives than we do.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because as you were talking, I was thinking it's not directly connected. I like to think of silly things and have fun and whatever else. I was like, well, yeah, we need them to think. It's not like we're not both. We're not, I think, seahorse. They can, sometimes they're a male, and the seahorse, sometimes it's a female.
Hello.
Which one am I today? I don't know.
Oh, man, we are
seahorse.
Skating. We are skating the line. Where are you going with this seahorse?
Back to what we were talking about. But back to what we were talking about, though. You're funny, skating the line. But back to the thing. We're not seahorses.
Yes, we're not seahorses. No,
we're
humans.
We're humans.
Yes.
So we can't... Anyway, so we have to think...
Good job.
We can think the way that we think.
Yes.
And, we're seeing it the way that we see it.
Yes.
But again, it's good to have where, God put people in our lives, especially our wives, to say, hey, I see what you're doing, but... when I look at it this way, I see it from a different angle, right?
Yeah.
If you're looking at, I don't know, a map or a thing, like I'm looking at it this way. If you're standing there, you see it. Yeah, you see it from a different direction.
Yeah.
So you're trying to figure out, okay, well, God gave me this piece that I'm trying to, make sure that I go right here. But maybe God gave her a different piece or another piece to add to say, hey, here's where O'Neal is trying to go, but if he does this little minor adjustment, you go ahead and you'll get there better, right? If I'm holding a big piece of cardboard trying to walk through a door a certain way and I won't fit, right? Well, if you turn sideways, go ahead and fit in the door. It'd be a lot easier. But anyway, so we think one way at times, and we can very much be focused or honed in on what we know or what we're trying to do. But then, bringing your wife, bringing someone who can hear from God and like, oh, you know what? God actually spoke to me last week and showed me exactly what we're seeing now. Revealed to me the answers that we need, and here's what you need to do. So
I mean, what you're ultimately hearing is the vastness of what it means to have and live with a wife that can hear from God. Because I mean, it's not like a wife that is a doctor, right? Where it's always this, it's always that, and you can count on the answer to always be a certain way. Like, no, like you have somebody that is tapped in with the creator of heaven, earth, and everything that we see on it. And so a answer, a response, anything can just come from and be about anything. And we have to, as husbands and as men, have to have the security. Maybe to tap on next week, but not too much. We have to have the security enough to know that, okay, even though this may not be what I heard or what I think to be so, let me consider, and if not even alter what I'm thinking to be what it is that my wife is speaking.
That is true. Wow.
So, so let's end with this, right? Let's end with some advice. Advice for the woman that can hear from God, and also for the husband.
For the woman that can hear from God, I would say...
I'll jump on it after you.
So advice for
her.
For her.
For the wife.
I would say, of course, just being mindful of how you present or take the thing that God is telling you to your husband.
I like that.
Know your spouse, right? Know your spouse to know how he likes to receive information, or potentially, I'll just say that what I'm thinking, like, the reaction that you might receive from that individual. And being mindful of, when to present that to him versus it being, while he's very much focused and frustrated, and you're like, oh no, why are you doing this? Because God told me you need to do a different thing and this and that. And the delivery, right? Watch the delivery, because at the time, maybe, God told you the thing and you're doing your job in communicating the thing, but how are you communicating it? What's the timing? In the delivery, how is it being said? Is it being said in a way where it's, loving, or being said in a way that you're, kind of mindful of maybe his, feelings or his mindset at the time, versus it, is it God spoke to you, but is the delivery harsh, right? Just being mindful of that, so that, it's not just said, because it's one thing to say something, but if you say it and it's not applied, now God doesn't get the glory, or the thing that he's saying doesn't end up happening because what you delivered was not heard, right? Because of just the delivery method. So just be mindful of that, I would say.
For me, I would say for the wife to share what God is saying in a way that it could form agreement. Right, and I think you even touched on to it, but the main thing is saying it so that understanding and agreement can take place between you and your spouse, right? So it's one thing to know what God said, hear what God says, and then you're ready to act on it, and you're in it bullheaded, like it doesn't matter what you say, what you do, this is what God said. Well, if it's two of you all, then there should be some form of agreement with what God said before any actions take place. That's or any major moves, right? And you and your spouse may have an understanding as to what level of things need, checks and balances, and there may be some things where it's like, no, okay, just do that. But, just go in it with that, so that a unity of agreement and decision can take place. So that's what I would say for the spouse. Now, for the husband, right? I would say to be open, right? And I say be open because sharing what you heard from God can be a sensitive time.
That's true.
Right? And I think too, because we don't all hear clearly full sentences, paragraphs, and dissertations from God. Right? There may be times where we hear a sentence. We may hear a word.
Yeah.
We may get a vision. We may have a feeling.
Yeah.
We may just get a glimpse, right? As
Yeah.
even Pastor Brian had talked about in his message, we may just get a glimpse. And she is coming to you with the glimpse that she heard,
Yeah.
that you don't trample upon it. Like,
Yeah.
don't laugh at it. Don't make a mockery of it. Like, don't belittle the moment that is being shared. And so, as husbands, as men, we should definitely be loving in what is being said,
Yeah.
even if you don't agree with what's being said, right? Initially, right? But at the end of the day, if you all have that same understanding that we both can hear from God, and it is God that is leading us, then though God spoke to her first in a matter, God, will speak to you as well.
Yeah.
And so, be loving. Know that moment is a moment of transparency, and vulnerability can definitely take place. If you do it wrong, you may never hear again what God has said.
Yeah, it's true.
Until God said for me to leave.
Yeah.
And then it's too late. But yeah, so that's what I would say for the husband.
That's funny. Yeah, that's good. I would say be open in a sense, but looking at it two ways. Being open as in being willing to share, speak up, right? Open your mouth and say something and actually share the things that God is letting you or telling you. Because again, like we said, maybe you have one piece and she has another piece to, but then at the same time, how is she going to know what is kind of taking place with you in your life, or what, God is kind of, of course, God can share with her the things that he's revealing to you at the same time. But then, you need to share, speak up, and not hold back and not hold in information that, God is giving you that could, further whatever it is that you all are doing for your family, or whatever it is that you all are doing together. And then be open in the sense of being open-minded, right? And not immediately shoot down whatever idea. Like, Ricky had mentioned earlier, kind of example with, him and his wife, where she may have said something for him and his family, and he knows typically it's, hear and do. But then at the same time, knowing not to shoot the idea down, where it's like, okay, here, maybe it might sound a little off the wall or whatever it might be, but here, take time to, take it back to God, because, okay, God told me something maybe, that's, I didn't see it quite the way that you did. Just like when you think about scripture, right? A lot of times people either misinterpret something that is being said in scripture, or sees it, in a different way. Or maybe like you read it and you read it and you got one thing, but then you read the exact same, verse, and either yourself, you see it differently, or you got a little nugget that originally one word that you, every time when you read it, you glanced over it and, you inserted that thing. But there's that one thing that was always missing that you didn't see yourself. Or maybe, again, you read it and you read it one way and you understood it to mean one thing, but then your wife, she reads it and then she says, oh, actually, this is the way that I view it. And then you look at it again, you're like, oh, snap.
Hello.
You're right.
That's that map view that you talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Look at it from this angle. Did you see how I kind of put my head to the side? I was, looking at it at a different angle. But anyway, just being open.
Well done. That was a good save.
So being open as in open your mouth and speak up and share the things that God is telling you. And then being open as in, hey, if something, a different perspective is brought to you, not to immediately try to shut it down because, hey, God's speaking, let him do his thing.
Yeah. No, I like that. So, I love that, man. So, man, we hope that this conversation was beneficial both to the husband and to the wife, because it is a subject that not too many people talk about. However, if you are a believer, if you are a Christian, it is something that you deal with on the regular. And so, obviously, we are bold enough to have the conversation. And if there are any other conversations that you all would love for us to have, definitely drop them down below in the comment section, and we will be sure to get to it, okay? And with that being said, if you're watching on YouTube, please click that subscribe button, and you already hit that thumbs up. If you are listening on your favorite podcast platform, if you would, follow, subscribe, share, all that good stuff that you can do. But until next time, you can always find us having conversations with Christians.
Yeah.
What's the song?
Conversations with Christians.